Hello everybody, my name is Ryan. This is my review of Westworld Season 1, Episode 8. This episode was really good. I really enjoyed this episode. I think that last week's episode was also solid, but it was very focused on by the twist. Like, everyone was just amazed by the twist, so that's a lot of what was coming out of this last episode. This episode, I felt like gave us a lot more clues, gave us a lot more to think about. I think that the episode in general was also really great, so we're going to review it, and we're also going to talk about theories along the way, because I don't think it's going to be possible for me to talk about the show without also theorizing along the way, because holy shit, there's something going up in this world, and we don't exactly know what it is. Let's get into it. This is Nerd. So starting off with Dolores and William, and I guess Logan's now back in that, that is one of the most confusing things about this show, just because Dolores' timeline is bizarre. We can well guess that she's been in the maze at this point. I think that after last episode, or after, I think a few episodes back, whenever we saw her talking to the little girl who showed her the maze, I think it became sort of clear that, yeah, she probably has been inside the maze and seen that, and I'm interested in the maze, because that is the one thing in the show that I just have no fucking idea what it's going to be. I think that this episode gave us a lot more information on it, but the maze is so intriguing to me, because until now, I've had no fucking guesses about what it's going to be. It's something deeper in the game, but unlike Arnold and like people being like other people who I think could be robots in The Man in Black, this is something I have no fucking clue what it is, and I was excited to learn more about it, and I think that was one of my favorite parts about this episode. So, moving on, let's just talk about Dolores and William first, because their part in this episode was by far the most confusing. And in fact, just the one scene where Dolores is having memories, and it looks like she's remembering things inside of memories, and it's weird. You don't exactly know what's happening. First, we see her looking at what looks like new robots, new AI here, and that's kind of bizarre. Of course, she's one of the first, so she would have memories like this, but is that then connected to her seeing the little girl? Because it looks like maybe there's like a shift there, maybe it transitions from one to another, because you then see a bunch of dead bodies. It's hard to kind of keep track of what's going on there, and you don't know if we're going back into a memory inside a memory, or you don't know how far it's going down, and it's really weird. And then we see who is possibly the Man in Black coming in and shooting up a bunch of people, which would discredit all the theories that William is the Man in Black, so interested to see how that's going to go. But that would be interesting. I'm curious to see how that's all going to go down and how we're going to sort of tie all of that together, because who the fuck knows how this is all going to happen. The biggest Man in Black theory right now is William, because it's kind of the one that makes the most sense, but also maybe it's not, because this show is super weird, and there's a lot of things that could happen. I think that William and Dolores' parts in this episode, they weren't the best, but I think Dolores was a lot of like, here's some more Dolores timeline stuff, here's some confusing things. Logan's back, which I'm excited for, and I'm excited to see how that's going to kind of go down. Between Logan and William, I think that William has more resemblance and more narrative meaning to be the Man in Black, but it just kind of seems like Logan is the Man in Black to me. I don't really know what's going to happen, but what I could see is, the Man in Black is clearly in a bad spot, he's terrified. William is engaged to Logan's sister. If William ends up killing Logan in this game, then maybe it would give Logan's sister a reason to be terrified of William and live every day in fear, and then we get to 30 years later where the Man in Black has this wife who's now killed herself because of it. And I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing things here and trying to tie things together, but it's so fucking weird. Moving on to Bernard and Ford, because they were one of the most interesting things going into this episode they had a very interesting beginning to this episode, because they are different, to say the least. Ford is all fucking kinds of weird and monsterish, and Bernard we just found out is a robot, so I was excited to see more scenes with Bernard, and of course I'm always excited to see scenes with Ford, because he probably knows the most out of everyone here, and that's a big position to hold in a world as creepy as this. And I'm also expecting Ford to die or never die. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to go with Ford, because I feel like if you kill Ford off, that's like a lot of answers that you're just kind of hiding even deeper now, and not having this like one guy who knows about Arnold and everything. Just kind of killing him makes it a little more interesting and hides everything a little bit more, so I could see them doing that. But also, he holds all the answers, so I could just see him living for a lot longer until we find out like what the maze is, what Arnold is, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. Ford explaining, I think that Anthony Hopkins is doing a terrific job, and the writing for this character is also really well. He's really largely based in philosophy and everything, and him talking to Bernard about, Bernard's now made the conclusion that he is a host. I don't know how long they're going to go with that. Maybe Ford's just going to erase his mind at some point, but I do think it's interesting how that kind of turned in this episode. It looks like from the promo next week, we're still going to be kind of continuing Bernard knowing that he's a host, and it's weird because at the end of last episode I was thinking, how many times has Bernard actually found out he's a host? Because this should just be one of many times it's happened. But if they're not just straight up erasing his memory right now, maybe this is the first time he found out, and that makes this a little more interesting instead of just, hey, waiting for the reveal that he's found out a bunch of other times. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go there. I think that Bernard and Ford in this episode, they were one of my favorite pairs. Ford is also a monster, and it's fun to see him. So he's talking about Theresa. When he's talking to Charlotte about Theresa being dead, and he's still kind of hiding things, you're seeing, oh my god, this guy is so fucking evil. Because he's just lying about this so easily. There's no fear in him. He almost sounds too confident about this woman dying for it to work. I feel like it's not going to be something that's like, he's going to get caught because he's like being all afraid and stuff and suspicious. No, he's just being super confident about her death. It's not confident about her death, and it's so weird and evil, and I'm just wondering what the fuck's going to happen with that, because Charlotte will probably find out at some point, but also she'll probably die because of it. So Tessa Thompson really wanted her to stay on the show, hoping she will, but who knows where the fuck they're going to go with that. Teddy remembering in this episode was great. I really liked Teddy remembering things about the Man in Black, because that was so weirdly like the one. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. It's kind of hard to discuss blankly, like a lot of things in the show. Teddy is remembering that Dolores was probably raped by the Man in Black, and he's just he's having this kind of virus or whatever it is that's making him have past memories, memories about his past life. So I'm wondering, what is the cause of this? Are the hosts, sorry, not robots, just breaking down because of this new update or something? I'm curious to see where that's going to go. I think if anything, it's probably that I want to believe that it's planned, that these hosts remembering their past life is planned by Bernard and Ford or Arnold in some way, that they're supposed to be remembering this, but I don't know if it's going to go that deep. It might just be a virus going on, and I feel like that would be the easier explanation than the one that we're already going towards. But again, fucking anything could happen on the show. I like Teddy remembering, though, because the characters are weird in the sense that if they just keep forgetting who they aren't so much that death is kind of a real thing in this show. Death can't really happen to the hosts because they'll just kind of come back unless they have like super death and get wiped out like Abernathy. But the point is that if Teddy can kind of start remembering it, it makes him feel more like a character, because if he died, like when Teddy would die, he just kind of forgets everything. If he can start remembering it, it would make his inevitable death, it sort of marks him for death a little bit, because if you can start remembering this, maybe they're going to have to kill him at some point. So it has a whole lot more levels onto it. Also, just the idea that he's remembering what the Man in Black has done is super interesting, because you don't know how he's going to react to it, and you think that if he realized how terrible of a person the Man in Black really was, he would probably not be happy with him, but also being a host, he can't kill him. So curious to see where that dynamic's going to go. I think that Teddy and the Man in Black is one of my favorites on the show right now, just because one of them's so mysterious. The Man in Black, we don't know fuck all about him, except that his past, like, we don't know who he is. He's so weird. We get like brief glimpses of him each time, and I think that this episode gave a good idea of his backstory, but it also feels like we're missing something, and that's partially where William's story could fill it in, but I don't really know. We are learning more about this character, though, and I do like that. And I think that having Teddy there with him, a character who I also like, is adding a little bit more to that. And I'm curious to see how Wyatt's going to play into all this, because Wyatt's seemingly new, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's part of a bigger thing, especially since he's giving the writers like busy work with that's also related to Wyatt in some way. I just feel like Wyatt's gonna be important in some way. That maybe he's like Ford's backstory, so I don't fucking know at this point. But ideas. Maeve is another one of my favorite characters, just because it's so fun to see her evolution as a character and getting smarter and smarter, and I am interested to see where that's going to go. Also, we got to learn about more of, not her backstory, because the backstory of these characters is a more complicated thing, but what happened to her before all of this, and filling in some of the blanks of, why we've seen the Man in Black go and kill her and a kid, and who that kid is. We found out that she had a past life, and that the Man in Black is truly also kind of a monster, or at least he was testing himself to see if he could be a monster. Again, the ending and that whole the woman who refused to die was fantastic. It was learning a lot about characters, and that's one of the most things I'm most excited to see on this show, because we know so little about like half these characters, and we keep getting teased about maybe there's a little more to these characters. Having the Man in Black be here, and just him sort of, you don't know much about him, but you're learning more about him as he's talking about it, but you are expecting a big twist, and it's weird, because he still doesn't have a name. That's the thing. If they just said, oh, my name's Timmy, that's a name. He's Tim. Whatever. The point is, he still doesn't have a name. We're still just calling him the Man in Black. So if you give him a name eventually, that probably answers a lot more questions. Because I feel like what they're waiting to say is, it's like, his name's William, and then everyone's mind's just going to blow, but we're also all going to say, I told you so. The point is, that's what I feel like we're building to, because we're giving him information, but never a name. I just want to fucking know his name. That's the big question here. What is the Man in Black's name? We're learning more about his past, and I think that him and Maeve, that whole flashback sequence was really cool. Seeing how he learned about the maze, Maeve kind of cutting him, and then cutting to Bernard and Ford dealing with her, I thought was interesting. Just that the woman who refused to die, that builds up Maeve's character a lot more. That even before she was super sentient and just like 20 smart, like before all that, she was the woman who refused to die. That is an awesome title, and that is something I'm going to remember while watching the show forever. It really builds Maeve up as a character that I like even more, even though I already really like Maeve. Maeve's at the beginning of this episode, she meets new Clementine, as I'm calling her, because there's old Clementine, who I love, and now there's new Clementine, who I'm kind of glad to see die, because she's not old Clementine. The point is that it was interesting to see her realizing that this is new Clementine, and also realizing that she can control everything. That was fun. Just her being able to sort of manipulate everybody, having a character like that inside this world is really fun. And I want to see more of that before they just kind of take her away. So I don't know where they're going to go with that, but I'm hoping it's the fun places where she just kind of controls more people and plays God a little bit more, because that was super fun to see. Her saying, oh, Clementine went over there. Oh, the bartender went out back. Just her controlling people like that was awesome, and I want to see more of it. Maeve and Sylvester, that was also an incredible scene where she almost kills him. And it's weird because you're slowly wondering, what are the limits of these people? They can't kill them, but they can do an awful lot to him. They can hit him, they can, I guess, cut him. And Maeve is probably an exception here, but she did slice the Man in Black's neck a little bit. She did cut him. So, and that was probably a glitch, but I like the idea that these hosts can do a lot, but they can't kill you, and maybe that's what the maze is. The maze is a place where they can kill you, and I don't know, it's Arnold's game, we don't know much about it. Arnold in general, I feel like either Arnold or Ford is a host, because we have a big kind of sort of revealing line from Ford in this episode, which is, Bernard says, like, what's the difference between me and you? And Ford kind of brings up, that's what Arnold was kind of obsessed over, and that's what he was thinking. And I was thinking of that as not more so of a, what's the difference between humans and hosts, but Arnold literally saying to Ford, what's the difference between me and you? That's the big thing here, because either Ford is a host or Arnold is a host. I'm willing to bet money that one of these two is a host, because they're the two creators of Westworld. I'm imagining that one is a host, and one is or was a host, and one is or was a human. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen there, but just having knowledge that Arnold said, what's the difference between like us and them, but also that Ford knows about it, it just feels like to me that Arnold said to Ford, what's the difference between like me and you being human and host, or host and human? I want to know more about that. That's all I can concretely say about Arnold and Ford at this point, because they're both so mysterious / evil, or both, or maybe neither. The point is, I'm curious to see where this is going to go. What do you think? You can comment all your thoughts and theories down below, thoughts on the episode, everything. I think this video went a little bit longer. I feel like that's going to be a lot of these Westworld videos because holy fuck, there's so much going on in the show. What do you think? Give this video a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for weekly reviews of Westworld and more theories. I'm hopefully going to get a theory video out before next week's episode about a human who I think is a host, because I just want to get these theory videos out before they get confirmed on the show. So comment your thoughts down below too, so you can say I told you so also when they come true, and I'll see you all next time.